NIRO knowledge, one off.
Hey everyone, this is Nick, your NIRO Knowledge podcast host. And I know again this week, another day late, but it is for good cause, I promise. I was listening Monday night and kind of wanted to give myself some time for reflection. Monday night, George Mason University had apparently their vision series back again. I did not realize they had one before, but it was fantastic to see. But they are doing a vision series, and who started off 2021 for them was Dr. Cynthia Lum. As some of you may know, she was a previous guest last year for NIRO Knowledge. And she spoke to us about reinventing American policing, one of the longer episodes of NIRO Knowledge, but definitely well worth the time to put in to give it a listen if you have not already. And she spoke more to the reinventing American policing and policing in general for the most part. But obviously here in this country, we're obviously seeing some change, some cry out for change to actually happen, to take place, to move forward, to progress into something a little more than just that very militaristic law enforcement aspect that a lot of people see from our police within the United States. So I kind of wanted to mull that over a little bit and then put some thoughts down and get this out to you. And what came up to me again, I think we spoke on it a couple times previously, but the idea that analysts can help change the culture of American policing, especially the analysts that are used effectively within their agencies because they are leveraged for that effective, that efficient purpose of basically making patrol go where they need to be in order to be most effective to reduce traffic issues, to reduce accidents within the area, to be in a high visibility standing in order to address any concerns, or at least to be that guardian at that point, because they're not doing anything law enforcement aspect that there and then. Their role really is start off as a guardian, and if need be, something malicious actually ends up happening, which unfortunately still does, then they enact their law enforcement aspect. And to just even carry it up the chain for detectives, finding that next investigative lead. The analyst is there to root through lots of different databases, lots of information, while their detectives may be asking all the questions and doing the investigations and doing the interviews and the interrogations and finding suspects and some other leads out on the street. The analyst can be in there pooling resources together, digging into different databases, finding the information that's necessary, and possibly giving another angle, another lead to those detectives to take the case that much more down the line, that much further, right? And for the higher ups, the ranked officers, the chiefs and commissioners and everybody else, the analysts are providing the information. This is all actionable analyses being done. And so for them, those admin level officers, the rank, giving them all the information they need to figure out how much personnel they have, what strategies are actually effectively working in what districts or beats or however you may have your town broken down. If you are just one horse, one carriage town, you still need to know some of the stuff that's going on. You may be able to qualify it in some form, but quantifying it to actually put some purpose to it, to put some context then to those numbers that you're getting, whether it's crime or quality of life, both need to be addressed. And usually more often than not, as I'm sure almost every police agency will say, quality of life issues are really what dominate the calls for service. So some of the other things that have come to my attention in the last few days, especially after watching Dr. Cynthia Lum's broadcast live stream with George Mason, was the idea of the places that don't have analysts. And so really the question ends up being, how do you get people to buy in? Because the very traditional aspect of law enforcement is law enforcement. The very punitive mindset of, well, just jail them and that will take care of the problem has obviously not been as effective as I think a lot of people would perceive it to be, because people need to make the change themselves, right? So how do you gain the buy-in? And really the buy-in with an agency is finding out what troubles they have, what is plaguing their agency, their community, and really show them the why that the analytical process can hold, um, to get that job done, to get that problem addressed. They don't need to know how you do it, running the numbers, Excel spreadsheets and GIS mapping and everything else. They need to know that you can address the problem, that why this is going on. Well, guess what? This is something we can deal with you, with our communities, and get that addressed. So really conjuring the why and pitching and promoting how that problem is going to be solved is going to be the best and most effective way to get the change. Unfortunately, there's a lot of analysts I know that have had the same issue where the buy-in doesn't come along, and it takes just that one, touch of the top of the water, right, and the ripples start going. That one person that's like, well, we'll give this person a try, we'll see what the analyst has to say, and that success then just goes out from there, and all of a sudden you're inundated with all the work that you had hoped you had for quite an extensive period of time. But with that, our actionable analyses that we put forth are something that can start making that change. So those places that do have analysts in place, are you making something actionable? That culture can be shifted with the information that you put forward, with that information to carry you that much further. The knowledge that some people are dealing with, maybe that is an officer safety issue, but to address it to the point that you are aware that this person has mental health issues might actually change the demeanor in which the officers address that person, especially if they haven't been trained in some form of mental health situations, which is obviously another one of the many issues that go on within law enforcement and policing, and the interactions between them and the community at that point. So, some of those struggles, some of the information that we may have can just glean that much more information to give them another piece of advantageous information. Trying to use big words, apparently. Information that will get them to be a better success in doing well with the community at that point. And obviously, being the analytical, usually a lot of us end up being civilian. There's a different mindset, and so we can kind of enhance those strategies outside of that sometimes tunnel vision of just enforcement purposes, right? Well, we only have the law and this is the only way we can go. Sometimes the analyst can be that one to make that change, knowing the different things that they can do, the different things that they can add, the different way that they see these problems and what might be causing them. And it just generates that ability at that point to work with the community. All this information can arm the officers with this knowledge that they can then go forward and deal with this location, these persons that might be housed in a certain place that they were unaware of, that had more substance abuse issues, more mental health issues, some domestic violence issues, these areas of concern that bring harm to themselves and the society and the people around them, and just a better way to interact with them instead of always having that unfortunate confrontational enforcement piece, and being the bad guy. So as I talked about before, it kind of goes back to the Sir Robert Peel principles and those 9 principles of policing, and definitely review those and take a look at them. I think they're very uplifting in a sense, and something that we have come sort of kind of far away from, since really it deals with working with the community and the people within the community to get that cooperation, because we need each other to get the job done, right? We need members of the community to help us help those that don't understand that they have resources available to them, or don't know that they have resources available to them, and to find those resources that we didn't know that we had to offer up to our community as well. So, kind of a lot of different things going on. And something that just came across my email recently was an article from GQ, of all places. I was kind of surprised it was from there, not Police One magazine, not IACP or anything else, but GQ was talking about Ithaca, New York, and the mayor trying to push this massive reform. And I got through some of the article quickly, unfortunately, and not thoroughly enough, but I'm going back to read it, and I will give you the link to it, so that way you can take a look as well. But pretty much he's the mayor there has this idea, and he's going to put half a police department basically armed and the other half unarmed, and deal with those community issues that don't need an armed officer to have addressed. And some of, again, what I was talking about, those harm issues more than anything else, the mental health, the substance abuse, more of that problem-oriented and community-oriented policing is going to be done with somebody who's not in uniform at that point. And, definitely interesting to see how that's going to play out, and how the community receives that. But it's definitely a new spin on how to kind of, I guess, marry, in a sense, the old, right? The way that we've done American policing in the last several decades, and what we have people asking for now in terms of making that change to have the police be that more interactive and guardian role within the community, outside of the different movements of one extreme or the other. So it'll be interesting, like I said, to see where that plays, how that plays out, just because it's such a different dynamic that's being presented. It's not just a small CIT team of making the mental health concerns of being addressed, and substance abuse and stuff like that, but it ends up being that basically just splitting the police department in two, having one form over the other. So it'll be very, very intriguing to see the results of that, and what research might have to say about it, and the pracademics. So with that is the most of this, the wrap up that we have going on. And a couple things. Friday, I have a webinar, and going to do a webinar on my top 5 analytical tools for law enforcement. And that's going to be free for everybody who wants to join in. I will have a link. You can go and register up for that. And again, on that website, my niroca.com, niroca.com, there are analytical tools as I continue to build the repository. How I said that funky, the repository of training videos, Microsoft Access, Power BI. I'm going to be growing out a GIS platform of training as well for analysts. So I'm going to be putting in, so as of Monday next week, turn of March, or however that goes, wherever we are in this date time frame at this point, the open source program Gephi. I have a simplified training for people to learn how to use that rapidly and get that up and going. That's a kind of a social network analysis tool, and that's going to be in there. NIROCA.com, niroca.com. That will be where you can get all of your training materials from me. And that is available there. Again, Friday's webinar, that is 1 p.m. Eastern time. That is available for free for everybody. 1 hour webinar on the top 5 analytical tools for law enforcement for 2021. So I have that coming up as well. And a couple other things in the work. I got somebody I'm talking with to get onto the program to speak to us about victimology. So that'll be great as well. And then another person coming on, hopefully to speak about harms-based location-based harms-based location. And it's getting late at this point, so getting a little flustered all over the place. But coming in to speak to us basically about GIS and some of those problem areas and mapping that stuff out. So that will be good information to have as well from another academic standpoint. So those are a few things I have coming up for you folks. Stay tuned. One of the best things too, before I let you go, the Slack workspace, the Slack group that I have going on, I will put that Slack invite link in there. We are going strong at already over 60 people in there from all over the world. So thank you very much for everybody who's kind of joined in, chipped in, and definitely have given some great shares at this point. Things on OSINT and R, Python, some other great technical materials, training sites, and a whole bunch of resources that I've accumulated over time are posted in there at this point. So again, that's free as well. Hit that link in the show notes. It will be the Slack invite. So feel free to join in. A lot of great sharing, a lot of great information that's coming up, a lot of people with different backgrounds that can definitely be tapped for great information for anybody who's looking for something. It's there for your taking at that point, and for you to come in and share your information. Definitely give us your input, your value, and that would be great to have you there. Academic, pracademic, analyst, no matter whom it might be, we've got them all inside that Slack group, and it's growing. So come join us there. Well, that is all I have for you. I will see you Friday. I will have a quick live after the top 5 analytical tools. So that'll be about 2 p.m. Eastern time. And if you haven't, sign up for email, get into the Slack group, whatever you need to do, come join us, come grow this culture, shape it into what it needs to be for the future, shape it into something great, share your knowledge, and I will chat with you all soon. Thank you. Another great episode of NIRO Knowledge. Thank you for listening to the podcast, and remember to share, subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on your favorite service. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me at nick@niroca.com. It is nick@niroca.com.